I thought I was a sky pilot, and I would take massive amounts of acid, and it would be like, I'm not talking about club drugs. I'm talking about lysergic acid diethylamide 25. And for a long time, I didn't trust anybody that had never taken LSD.
Right.
But, whenever I was going to Austin, I went to Nashville because weather too good, girls too pretty, dope too cheap. I know I won't get anything done here. And I went to Nashville. And
when did you leave your house in San Antonio?
I was not quite 17.
Was it, you were just ready to go?
I just ready to go. My parents weren't in any way mean to me. I just, the two people that didn't deserve anything that they got are my first wife and my parents when it got right down to it, So I didn't, I just knew what I wanted to do, Even a psychiatrist that I was seeing, back then told my parents that, he knows what he wants to do. He says,
so there was reason for you to go to psychiatrist at that. Like you went and saw somebody.
No, everybody. I mean, probably, but the deal. That's probably a reason for everybody to go. But the reason I was there was every other kid that went to a middle class kid that went to a psychiatrist because my parents caught me with drugs.
I got
so you. I thought I was a sky pilot, and I would take massive amounts of acid, and it would be like. I'm not talking about club drugs. I'm talking about lysergic acid diethylamide 25. And I just, because I was taking acid in 69, 70.
What was the appeal to that, man? Like as a 15-year-old, 16-year-old?
I was 14 when I started, yeah.
Like that's a real drug.
It's a real drug. It's a weird, I feel sort of the same way that Ram Dass did about it. I don't think I would be the same person if I'd never taken it. And for a long time, I didn't trust anybody that had never taken LSD.
Right.
But it was, for me, it was, I'm an addict. So I got addicted to LSD just like I did everything else.
But was everything
really didn't matter what drugs.
With all that stuff, self-medication at the end of the day, once you got off of it and got in a stable situation?
Well, that took years. I took drugs in some form or fashion for years and years and years. And I just juggled them around enough. I left Texas when I did because Austin, whenever I was going to Austin, I went to Nashville because weather too good, girls too pretty, dope too cheap. I know I won't get anything done here. And I went to Nashville. And I knew and I tried. I would do things like I got to Nashville. I started shooting heroin when I was 13, even before I did LSD. And I would get strung out and I would lay down and get well and lay off of it for a while. And so I did that dance for years. Mm-hmm. And I always injected it. I never took it any other way until much later when I was doing another kind of flirting with it when I started doing it again. But basically, I got to Nashville, and the opiates were ridiculously expensive there. There was no way for a guy scuffling around could afford them. I did cocaine when somebody that could afford it had it.
Right.
Mainly I drank. The alcohol became the drug of choice when I got to Nashville. It was a drink in town. And
still is.
I already drank, too much. And I was weird because I was like, I had a pretty high capacity for alcohol. I didn't have that allergy thing that Towns had and a few other people I know had. That,
You're talking about
the
that
personality changed just instantly, and you could see that in their eyes when it happened. I didn't have, but my personality changed. But I could tolerate a lot of liquor. But there was a point at which I did black out. It took a lot, but it would happen.
I can imagine, guy like you. I'm a Texan. I can drink all night.
Well, I thought I was supposed to. There was that stuff, and there was also you could drive around, with an open container in your car when I was growing up. You could drive. You could, it was, and then it was legal. It was legal to drive and drink literally as long as you would submit to a breathalyzer.
I remember.
And it was, then they changed it to where it was just anybody else in the car could have an open container, but the driver couldn't. So the law was basically that.
Right. That's what it was like when I got my license.
Yeah.
So when you got to town, did you automatically hook up with, did you already know Guy in Towns?
I met Guy in Nashville. I knew Towns. And Susan Walker and I were talking about this because I'm trying to figure out whether it was her house or not, and she can't remember.